are good to go, right? We're good? We're good? Okay. We're good. Uh, okay. So we're gonna roll with this new system. Got it. Alright. Welcome back. Obviously, was not live yesterday. But real quick, we're gonna talk about what happened yesterday. Basically, what happened is we had a really destructive line of thunderstorms reach into New York. That produced up to 80 to 85 mile per hour winds. And then we also had some storms back over here in Wisconsin and Kansas. Kansas storms kind of underperformed, but uh, we were expecting that. But we're real quick. We'll talk about these severe thunderstorm warnings here in a minute. I want to quickly go over the severe weather risk for today. For today, we have a level 3 out of 4 enhanced risk. This goes all the way from Mason City, Iowa, all the way back into northern Michigan. We have a large slight risk that surrounds that. We have another slight risk back over here for the uh, central to western plains, and then we have another slight risk which includes northern New England and central New England, and a large marginal risk that back down extends around those two, and also marginal risk back down here across the deep south into the Tennessee Valley. Main concerns for today. Main concerns for today will be damaging winds anywhere between 60 to 85 miles per hour, uh, anywhere within that hatch zone. 60 to 75-mile-per-hour winds are possible anywhere within this hatch zone, and then 60 to 75-mile-per-hour winds are possible anywhere within that hatch zone. They did actually recently just hatch this. I'm a little interesting that they went with that, but nonetheless. And then we have a 15% unhatched wind risk. The marginal risk for the deep south will be damaging wind threat. Hail threat is actually not that big of a concern, to be honest. But we do have a large hatched 15% or 5% Sig 1 hail risk, which means hail exceeding 2.5 inches in diameter is possible, or baseball-sized hail. Wouldn't rule out a couple storms getting up to softball-sized hail back over here, uh, where some supercells could get going, but that's just going to be really contingent on the evolution of our storms today. And we have another hail risk back over in the northern New England. Tornado threat today is okay. They actually hatched. Okay, so this wasn't hatched. This is new to me. It's just a little weird that they went ahead and did this. But we do have a 5% tornado risk, and a 5% hatched risk. Now I did mention that I do believe the tornado risk would be greater back over here, in which they did upgrade that to a 5%, but they did put the hatched risk over here in Wisconsin. And a tiny bit of Minnesota, so that's a little interesting. I think they might expand that hatched risk. I'm just a little more confident with the initial supercells back over here, more than I am with whatever goes on over here. But if we can get any storms to go off up here in Wisconsin, isolated strong tornado could not be ruled out. We have a large 2% that surrounds that. No other tornado risk for today. Going into tomorrow, we have a large, very large, slight risk of severe weather. This goes all the way from North Dakota, Canada border, all the way back into Cadillac, Michigan. Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Mason City, Omaha, Milwaukee, you name it, you're probably in there. And then we have a very large marginal risk, which extends from Montana all the way back down into basically Oklahoma and all the way into New England. So a large area, and then another marginal risk which extends back down here in the Tennessee Valley. Main concerns for tomorrow will be damaging winds anywhere between 60 to 75 miles per hour at times. Uh, Also the 5% wind risk back down here. Wouldn't rule out a hatched risk. I mentioned this yesterday. Wouldn't rule out a hatched risk somewhere back over here, where I do believe that a storm or two could produce 70 to 75 mile per hour winds. Hail risk, not that big of a concern, but we do have a 15% Sig 1 risk hail. And then the tornado risk is Actually lower than I think it could be. It's only a 5%, but I do believe an upgrade to a Sig 1 5% or even a 10% will be needed. Also, wouldn't rule out if we go back to the categorical, wouldn't rule out a tornado threat being a 2% being issued somewhere back over here in Middle Tennessee into northern Alabama. Really confident. I think I'm a little confident that we might see a isolated brief tornado. On let's see, Friday we have a slight risk of severe weather, which includes Sioux City, Sioux Falls, for northern Nebraska and southern South Dakota. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but it's not hatched either, so it's not like we need anything to worry about. And once again, no probabilistic future outlooks. We'll go over the excessive rainfall real quick. We do have a slight risk of excessive rainfall today. We kind of saw that yesterday. We have another one tomorrow, another one on Friday, and then eventually it'll kind of shift over. Just real quick looking at this. Okay. Let's look at the heat index. This is a deterministic on how major the heat will get. This is minor, this is moderate, this is major, this is extreme. Extreme obviously being the worst. So if you, well, I don't know why I did that. If you live anywhere within this purple, which is, my goodness, it's like a very weird area, you are under a extreme heat risk uh, for excessive heat. And then you go into the tomorrow, you're talking about basically the same areas, more Tennessee included, Pennsylvania and New York. Friday basically stays the same. There's no change. Day 4, we kind of see if it'll load. We kind of see some relief, especially back down here, but everywhere else, and somewhere back over here, little relief. But everywhere else, it's just kind of uh, burning up. We continue to see this. This will all transition back over into the southeast, back into the Tennessee Valley. And the Mid-Atlantic. And if we go to the day 6, I think the day 6 is a little, yeah. The day 6 will be mainly centered around the Carolinas and the Atlantic coastal regions. Day 7, still the same thing, Atlantic coastal regions, although I think another heat wave will try to get going somewhere back over there. And if that can actually develop, another major heat risk will be very much in play. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, what was I going to do? Okay, let's go over real quick because we have some time. Let's talk about the severe thunderstorm warning. I have a new way now of tracking when severe thunderstorm warnings are issued so I don't miss one or miss tornado warnings. So that's pretty neat. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning back over here near Green Bay. It's for a Boeing. Oh my, that's a crazy Boeing echo if I've ever seen one. God. And this thing's producing 80-mile-per-hour winds. I mean, you look at just normal velocities, this thing's I don't believe that this thing, yeah, this is producing 80-mile-per-hour winds aloft, so maybe get an
NWS bot
upgrade there
said.
on a severe thunderstorm warning. Nonetheless, we have two severe thunderstorm warnings, both with 60-mile-per-hour winds and up to 1-inch hail at times. That's an interesting Boeing echo. We also have more storms firing back over here. If luckily, since all these, you're probably thinking, well, if there's so much convection, surely the atmosphere can't re-intensify, but it's all the way up here. And our main concern, if we compare that to the tornado outlook for today, it's in the same region. So you would be right. The convection might cause a problem, but if this convection gets out of there quick enough, it'll be a pretty interesting scenario that'll play out. So as we approach into the night, into the afternoon, you're gonna see this like really explosive. You're gonna see all this stuff kind of clear out right around 1 p.m. and then you still might have if this actually plays out because what happened? Why does it do that? Jump over here. If this plays out, where we actually get a rogue supercell kind of remaining, isolated strong tornado could not be ruled out for that one before the main event. The main event starts right around 5 p.m. when you get a bunch of these cells trying to initiate. Also, an isolated supercell or two could be going back over in far northern into the UP of Michigan. Highly doubt that's a tornado producer, but it could probably drop one if it can get itself going. As we approach 6 p.m., we're going to see these storms really intensify. The only problem is how discreet are they going to remain? Kind of see they're sort of, in the same area. If any of these storms can get discreet enough from the rest of the crowd, it could be a pretty serious problem. This right now is just kind of showing these all kind of clustered, very weak clustered. It'll be like embedded supercells basically everywhere within this line. But it's not really too discreet. And then you talk about like this right here. This is what we call a semi-discrete. Everything else is in that line, and then you have this lone discrete one just out in front of it. If we can get that, that's where we're going to see that strong tornado start really getting into play. And that's why I'm concerned with the tornado risk back over here, and hence to over here where they have the hatched risk. As you approach 9 p.m. and 10 p.m., you're going to see this all congeal into a line of thunderstorms with embedded supercells. Might have a supercell right behind that line that can actually play out. I don't know how well that would work out because this line's kind of going to be eating up all the energy, so I have to wait and find out. As we approach to the overnight hours, you're going to see this line of thunderstorms race basically north. Well, I mean, is it racing northeast? It's racing kind of east northeast. Around 12 a.m. It'll remain basically the same. No real changes to it, and then it'll all die out. It'll die out well before it. I mean, it'll reach Michigan, maybe. No, it won't even reach Michigan. Most of ongoing storms, like during the early mornings around 5 a.m. back over in Wisconsin, uh, Iowa, and maybe Minnesota. So pretty interesting setup on the models, what they're showing. If we go out to see, okay, this is what I was talking about. This is what I want to talk about real quick. This is a concern, a very big concern I'm having. It's a very big concern I'm having. Is for some reason the models, and this is one of the craziest things. I'll show y'all what I mean in a minute. The models for tomorrow. Let's go. Let's talk about West Tennessee. This is the models, what they're showing. This is going to be insane. If this plays out, a localized tornado outbreak could very well be in play. I mean, okay. So around here we go. Starting tomorrow around 10 a.m. We're gonna see some storms try to get initiating or try to get going back over here just south of Memphis near Little Rock. You're gonna notice, look how quick these storms really upscale. Like you're talking about potentially hailstorms just falling. And you think, okay, well this is just gonna track north. It's gonna miss West Tennessee. Why are we talking about West Tennessee? Uh, Boom. No, it's not. Look at this. If this plays out, I mean, very well. If this plays out like the models are showing, that very well could be a localized tornado outbreak along this. Or let me rephrase that. It'd be a localized tornado outbreak basically anywhere within there. And it would be and I would definitely not rule it out. Look, you got supercell, tiny supercell. You got supercell. You got supercells galore. You got supercells back down here near Cleveland. You got a large cluster of storms that are going to be racing basically that way. You approach the 3 p.m. mark. Look at this. If this literally plays out like it's showing tomorrow, we are talking about it does not stop. This is showing somewhere. This is showing a large cluster of storms racing in the Crockett and Madison counties. You're talking about another cluster of storms that'd be entering Corinth and into Selmer. This is it. This is insane what this is trying to play out, and I'll show you in a minute why the models are kind of showing this. More sales we get going back down over here in Atlanta. Talking about just an interesting scenario being played out. This shows a large congealing like cluster storms all together into one. Now the reason, and look at this. You think it's done? No. You think it's done. You think Alabama's not gonna get hit. Alabama's getting hit. You got Tuscaloosa under supercells. You got a lot of stuff occurring at the same time. If all this actually plays out, the A keeps the same model run. Not only do I think we'll be talking about a potential tornado outbreak on a localized scale, you're talking about really anywhere within this region. Anywhere, really, anywhere. If a supercell can go anywhere in this region, it has the environment. The only problem is it's so hot out there. Will the question is, will it actually have enough cool air to, upscale? And what this is showing is that this is showing a cluster of storms just racing. And the models are insane, what this is showing. And then as we approach into the overnight, it dies out. Now, one of the other things I wanted to mention, you go to here. I want to look at the surface space cape. I want to look at tomorrow's. Here's the reason I want to look at tomorrow's. I want you to see how much cape is in the atmosphere and how much these storms are working with. Okay. I'm gonna show y'all exactly what type of atmosphere these storms are working with and why the HRR is showing these storms producing into giant supercell hailers and tornado maker. Quite. I mean, I'm just saying the tornado threat is pretty elevated if you ask me. All right, as we approach tomorrow, look at this. Approaching tomorrow, you're showing Cape anywhere. I mean, look at this. There's isolated Cape near 5,000 in western Kentucky. Jackson 3,000. There's 3,000 back over here in Crockett on the Mississippi River line. 4,000. It is insane the amount of energy that's going to be out there. And, last year I had mentioned that there was a potential chance for a next big outbreak on July the 4th. Did not play out because the storm was just not there at all for it to happen. But this model runs actually is showing a bunch of supercells, not just storms, supercells, either congealing into a cluster or staying discrete and could very well, very, very well produce a tornado. But if you go to tornado parameters or significant tornado parameters, this is one thing I want to talk about, the significant tornado parameters. This kind of shows you the risk of a actual strong tornado occurring. You're gonna notice, look, these levels are near one. And if these can actually reach one, I wouldn't rule out something crazy happening. Look, talking about this, you could very well see an very isolated tornado back over near Crockett, Covington, and Dyersburg, or the Dyer County. I don't know what that county is called, and then Crockett County. So if we actually get this to play out, see, I wouldn't even rule out a strong tornado. So far I've only said a tornado, but isolated strong tornado couldn't be ruled out. If you go to the supercell composite, now this I'm not exactly sure what this is showing, but this is yeah, look, it's showing like 0.2. So and then it's gonna regenerate, but whatever. So the supercell composite isn't very high, but that does not mean that we won't see
NWS bot
supercells.
said.
These storms will probably more than likely be surface-based, and so when we have surface-based storms, uh, or when they explode into the atmosphere, it's gonna be very rare. We'll talk about the Green Bay. There's a new three-star warning for Green Bay. They issued another one. I don't know what that's about, but truly insane what we got going on. And I also want to let's go look at the dew points because the dew points are gonna be there. That's not a question. I can find out real quick. Alright. So this is going to be the dew points for tomorrow's event. Right now, it is extremely. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like those storms are going to eat up all that dew point. Uh, wow. A crazy. I'm showing you a lot. Crazy
NWS bot
potential
said.
day tomorrow for the Tennessee Valley. I wouldn't even rule out, to be honest, based on the models. If the models are showing, I want you to look at this. Okay, I want you to look at this tomorrow. Only a marginal risk. Go to Yeah, like this is congenial inflows of help organize activity even with very weak shear. Very weak shear, the shear you kind of need that for tornadoes, but again, I mean, if one storm can just kind of tap into the environment, very well could produce a strong brief tornado. Obviously, brief is 30 to 60-second long-lived tornado, so it wouldn't really last that long, but I mean, it could happen. Wouldn't rule out a slight risk being needed in the future outlook, though, for that wind risk. Uh, Somewhere back over here. I think I'm a little more confident in that. Uh, but wow, insane model run. One of the most insane model runs I think I've ever seen a Shabar go with on a marginal risk day. And I actually want to go right back. I want to look at the. I want to look at something real quick. I'm going to leave YouTube out for a minute. I wish there was a way I could turn off city names, but I want to try something. I'm going to do something real quick. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. All right, sorry about that. Let's go talk about real quick since we're at it, and I don't really feel like talking about what's going on tomorrow until it actually happens. They're going to continue the severe thunderstorm warnings will be for 60-mile-per-hour winds. Yeah, yeah. Um, Still crazy Boeing Echo is going to be racing. This is 80. This is producing 80-mile-per-hour winds. I'm a little shocked that we don't have a destructive severe thunderstorm warning, but nonetheless, uh, strong storm impacting Sturgeon Bay. This is gonna be. Oh god, Green Bay is out of this, so we're good there. All right, look at the wording. If I want, I'm sorry, I gotta talk about this again. Look at the wording from tomorrow. Strong heating of very moist air mass approach scattered to numerous storms during the afternoon. Congealing outflows will help to organize activity even with very weak shear. Given the mid-level rates of 7 to 7.5 C per kilometer, at least marginally severe storms will be possible. Damaging winds are the expected hazard. I would say that maybe a tornado wouldn't could be in play, but what are they saying for today across Tennessee Valley? Yeah. So that's describing pulse thunderstorms. I'm mentioning more than just pulse. So interesting decision there. Let's look at the thunderstorm outlook real quick. All right.